How much did you enjoy that? Huh? I'm going to do one. Oh, it is on. Excellent. I want to launch right in because I read something about that last number, which I love, that when you originally wrote it, you wrote it as a disco song?
It wasn't very good. I didn't understand, you're getting in the middle of the script and trying to figure out why everything is there. And at first it's like, well, it's a celebratory song. They saved camp, so maybe I'll call it We Saved Camp. And they didn't like it. So,
Were you hurt? Did you have hurt feelings?
No. I was swinging in the dark, and then I realized that really what it was more about was a passing of, generations. So then I could give it some meat.
Yeah.
To me, the song builds to the end. It's just as a song to say, like your parents will say, do the best you can, but sometimes your best is not good enough. So the kids get to say that to the adults. Yeah. They're saying, like you did the best you can, but the stuff is a bit broken, and wish us luck because now we'll step up and try our best to.
You've had some really unexpected collaborations in your life. William Shatner.
Yeah, man.
Weird Al Yankovic.
Yeah.
Nick Hornby, Lonely Avenue, one of my favorite albums of the last 25 years.
Thank you.
In some ways, this is unexpected, but the minute I heard it, I was like, actually, that makes too much sense. You've described songwriting as emotional reportage, and you also said that Charlie Brown is emotionally, I loved this phrase, emotionally compressed.
Yeah.
And I would think for someone like you as a songwriter, that's very interesting territory to go into.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, for one, it allows me to write a waltz because waltzes are the most emotionally compressed style of music. It's like it's wanting to be, but they're never wet.
Yeah.
They're just a little bit distant, and so Charlie Brown doesn't have to be over the top and wet then in a song.
Yeah. You weren't, though, you did, was like 2 or 3 years ago, you did a previous Peanuts film, and you wrote one song for Sally.
Yes.
But you weren't going into this necessarily a big Peanuts fan.
Well, I grew up with it. I wasn't a fan of anything, really. So it's just that I wasn't. I can't think of anything. I mean, I liked Andy Kaufman.
Okay.
But...
That makes sense.
Yeah, but I grew up with it, so it's like these are people that
Yes.
For me to write a song inside Charlie Brown's head is to write someone who I grew up with and I know very well.
Yeah.
I didn't see it that way and didn't realize it, but it's everywhere. The world wouldn't be the same without it. So
Yeah.
I'm a fan in that way.
I'm old enough to remember when Charlie Brown Christmas actually went on the air for the first time in 1965. And I was watching that night, and it's one of the things you never forget because not only was it just a great half hour, but the music was exceptional. Vince Guaraldi.
Yeah.
Do you, when you're approaching something like this, do you think about that, or do you just try to forget it?
When we did the first one, It's the Small Things, Charlie Brown, I had a moment where, of course, that's your way in. You go, oh, okay, well, what would Vince Guaraldi have done? And I dispensed with that because the most important thing is the story, and the characters are already great. So to me, get inside the story and why everyone's doing what they're doing and who they are. And the cue that I would say I took from Vince Guaraldi is that he's a big part of why it's sophisticated doesn't speak down to children.
Yeah.
And so to take the sophistication part, but not so much to do the Vince riffs, which I do in my usual music. I probably avoided it a little bit.
Yeah. How do you feel about writing for another character? You're not writing.
Love it.
Yeah. You like getting outside of your own head.
I like that, and also if I can relate to them, and in that way, maybe I wasn't a fan of much, but I always related to Charlie Brown.
Yeah.
I mean, I think probably most kids do. There's a sense of, I wouldn't say outsiderness, but it's just not. He's not flamboyant and loud, and
Yeah.
it's you know, like, it's the stuff that you don't say. I mean, you see a kid that's listening sometimes, or just good grief. I mean, like,
Yeah.
just that. It's just brilliant. It's like, if
Yeah.
that's the only thing that's said, that's just amazing. Yeah.
You had to had to get approved by the Schultz family, didn't you?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
How'd that go?
I seem to go well. I mean, we had met years ago in some way. We were doing some kind of fundraiser together. Whether they remember it or not, I never remember it. And yeah. So they're all, yeah. They're such careful keepers of the Peanuts world.
Yeah.
And that's important, that I can go back while I was working on this. Eric could go back. We could all go back to, the Schultz family. They know.
They basically gave you creative carte blanche, except for the disco part.
Yeah. I mean, it's a team. So everyone's working on things. So when stuff's not working, we all know.
Yeah. Is writing for film substantially different than writing a song of your own?
For me, it's not.
It's not.
No, because I only take the projects that I don't have to, be. I can still be myself.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no reason for me to take sort of chameleon gigs, sound-alike stuff, which I think is probably, unfortunately, would be a lot of the skill set, which would be very difficult to do to continue. But I could put myself in this world because it makes sense to me.
How did this actually come to you in the beginning?
That I don't know.
You don't know.
I don't know. My manager called me. I think it was email. Might have been fax, since it was Mike. He still got a fax machine.
Did you have like a why me moment? Like,
no. I thought they've made a good choice.
but you didn't actually have a script to work from.
I did.
You did have a whole script?
Well, it was most of it, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, things were evolving. I mean,
Yeah.
I think sometimes things evolve out of the songs too.
Yeah.
And this is a good team of writers, and Eric's great. I mean, he's here, directed it, and
Yeah.
just kept it all, the vibe of it, and so many details. I would write something, and I think sometimes the things I would write lyrically would then find themselves on the screen,
Right.
and possibly in the script, to some degree, because
Right.
in a musical, the song is supposed to get to kick the field goals,
Right.
So they were good about writing it that way, so that it's like, okay, we've got it right there, and you just got to knock it.
Right. Your job is also to move the story along. I mean, ideally.
And sometimes to explain things. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm really thrilled with how Look Up, that era of it worked, because they gave what I had in the script would not have implied. I mean, it was the song's job to figure out how they earned the sun coming out.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a hard one to figure out.
Yeah.
But at the end.
So how do you go about that?
Well, I mean, look, it could happen that it's going to rain, and then the sun comes out. In and of itself, there's nothing happening with them to cause it. So, since it can happen in real life, it's like, well, what does someone do when they're faced with, likely defeat?
Yeah.
A lot of people go home. So, a lot of them went home, and Charlie Brown wasn't willing to look up to see that it was raining. He was going to keep his head down and be determined, because if the sun did come out, then he would be ready to go.
Yeah.
So his preparedness is his dogged determination. And then, of course, they're like, hey, Charlie Brown, look up. The sun's up. So I was like, okay, that's how we can emotionally earn the moment.
Yeah. You started playing piano when you were 9?
Yeah.
On a piano that your father got for you?
Yes.
Your father was a carpenter.
That's right.
Yeah. And he got it.
My mother was a virgin.
And he got it on a barter deal, from what I
Yeah, yeah.
right?
He was he had renovated a house and there was a piano in it, and
Yeah,
I don't know. He just took the piano because I think he knew that I was really interested in it.
yeah.
I was trying to play every musical instrument or coffee can I could get my hands on.
You were.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I loved it. I played a record player incessantly when I was 2 years old. I was listening so much that my grandmother had me sent to a kiddie shrink. Yeah, it was 8 hours a day sitting on the floor listening to records.
wow.
Yeah.
At 2?
At 2 years old, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought maybe it was a lot less, so I fact-checked that with my mother. I was like, this is 2 or 3 hours on the floor? She said, no, it's more like 8. That's why we thought it was a problem.
That, but so you get this piano, and was it when you were 9? Was it at that age, or was it a little later?
Yeah, it was at 9. I mean, the piano rolled in at night. I couldn't play it yet because it was nighttime. Everyone was going to bed.
Yeah.
And I had to figure it out. And when I woke up, I don't know if I slept that night. I was just thinking of all these
Yeah.
songs I would play on the piano in the morning. And I thought, that's low, that's high.
Yeah.
What could go wrong? I'll just start playing. And
Yeah.
I got up at maybe 6, 7 in the morning and couldn't play anything. And so I stayed frustrated. That was my main motivation as a kid playing piano, was utter frustration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did the 8 hours that you spent listening to records get transferred to 8 hours of trying to play the piano?
I'd say, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say so. I mean, the thing is I'd imagined what it would be like.
Yeah.
I'd imagined that I'd written the songs. I'd imagined that I was performing the songs. I
Yeah.
lived in my head in that way. I would put a little transistor radio under my head at night and I wrote that song, You'll Never Find. Dun, 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 dun. Like, I wrote that. And how hard could that be? Dun, 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 dun. And I thought I would do that. I remember thinking that. In the
Yeah.
morning. Yeah.
Yeah. But you were, in the end, you were self-taught entirely.
Yeah, I mean, I had help along the way. I mean, I went to a school that had a lot of music, so we were learning recorder and we were learning to sing and stuff, and there were pianos around, and so I definitely had help. Yeah.
Yeah. But were you learning all these other instruments at the same time?
Yeah, I thought I was going to be a percussionist.
Yeah.
I started playing that
Did
right
you go
after
to
piano.
school like on a percussionist? Was it a scholarship or something?
Yeah, that's right. I went
Yeah.
to fancy jazz conservatory on a full scholarship to play drums. I thought I was going to be a drummer when I grew up.
Yeah.
This is Plan B. But,
Yeah, this is Plan B.
No, I mean, if you'd asked me then, that definitely was. I mean, I really wanted. That's what I wanted to do.
Yeah. Why did you? What made you turn?
Well, I was pretty good, but I wasn't the best at it, I guess. And a couple of things sort of, derailed it as it went along. I mean, I got in a little trouble, I guess, in my first semester, and it's a long story, but it resulted in a broken hand, a broken nose, and I threw my drums in the lake and got on a bus and went home. It's true.
Okay,
Yeah,
wait
it's
a
pretty
minute.
bad.
Back up. Wait a second. You can't skip over this.
Someone said that's terrible. It is terrible. It was horrible.
The
Yeah.
drums ended up in the lake?
This was, yeah, it's a little like it's like that Whiplash movie.
Yeah. Okay.
Actually, that the guy that was one of my teachers there was notorious for being brutal, and everything was super dramatic and almost violent, and lots of cussing and putting people down and stuff. And when Whiplash came out, and I had met someone that worked on the movie, I said, "Could you ask the writer or producers or someone, is this after this guy?" And he goes, "The people ask that sometimes. If it was the guy that I had, people ask that, but it actually was someone else." But the point is, yeah. So I was in this it was sort of a little bit of an abusive sort of school, and everything was sort of dramatic. And when you're a kid, you get amped up like that. And a guy came by my dorm room to beat my roommate up. And I thought I would step in and save the day, and the guy had a scholarship on wrestling and boxing and stuff, and he
Not a fair fight.
no, look, if I'm in it, it's not a fair fight. But I just had stitches everywhere. I was down at South Dade Hospital until the sun came up. Got dropped at my drum juries, which is the percussion juries. That's your performance test at the end of the semester.
Right.
This was the night before that.
Yeah.
So when I showed up, my professor saw me dropped off in a cop car, and I had my bandages and stuff, and I thought I was going to get out of it.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, let's talk about when we can reschedule and stuff. He's like, no, you can't reschedule. This is like if you were going to a gig and you said, let's reschedule, now you get fired. So get up there and do the best you can.
Yeah.
And I think I got like a D-, and I knew because I was on a big scholarship. So one of the only 2 people at the school that had the scholarship. So I knew that I had lost it for sure. So so I thought, well, this is a good time for some performance art. So I threw my drums in the lake, and my friend took pictures of it, which we still have.
Yeah.
And I went back and I bagged groceries for a year to try to make enough money to go back to this school. But that didn't happen. And along the way, I was just getting various kinds of gigs. I was writing songs. I've been writing songs since I was little. The songwriting thing had been on the side, sort of. And I guess, God, one thing after another, I started a band.
How old are you at this point, by the way?
Mentally, or I was 17.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But you get at one point you get a songwriting gig. I mean, you get a publishing gig, or is it in Nashville?
Yeah, that's right. I was open up for now, guys. One of my best friends years and years later. He's a chemist and a genetic scientist, but he was kind of doing a Prince thing, and he was getting really super popular. So people came in to sign him, and he asked if I would. I was playing bass for him actually too. Asked if I would open up and do some of the songs I've been making up on the piano. Yeah, I was like, yeah, sure. And he didn't get anything, and I got all these offers to do things based on that one gig. And then I proceeded to suck for the next year or so. I would try to do a gig, and that beginner's gig was so innocent, and I just played my songs. Yeah. And then I went out there and tried to do it for real, and I was horrible. Yeah.
There's this weird period that I was trying to make sense of when I was looking at your bio, because there's the period in Nashville, and it looks very promising. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you leave Nashville. Yeah. And you move to New Jersey, and you start acting?
Kind of. I just exhausted everything in Nashville. Nashville was very good to me, but they didn't understand what it was I was doing. And they had a way of dressing things up and making gigs secret and stuff. It's like they didn't want you to fail in public or anything. So, and I liked making 4-track demo tapes, and they wanted it to be full blown, give it the full Nashville treatment. And I didn't really agree with me, but I sort of hit the end down there. I mean,
did you think you were done with music at that point? What did you think?
I did, actually. You did? Yeah, because of a couple things. One was a song that I'd had in my back pocket forever that I thought was the one that would make me famous one day, was a waltz called Boxing. And when I brought that into the publisher, was all he could hear is that was recorded badly, because they're really weird about that stuff there. Yeah. He's like, yeah, your pedal squeak and stuff. I was like, that's kind of part of it. And he goes, and it's a waltz what's this about, Muhammad Ali or something? This is like not going to sell anything. And it's the only song that's ever been covered of mine. Bette Midler covered it a couple years later. It's bizarre. But I left because I knew I was completely misunderstood. And he also told me in that meeting that,
this isn't going
look, it's not going well. We've tried everyone we can. Yeah. There's a band that's been signed to Geffen that we'd like you to go play drums for, because they're basically copying your style anyway. I was like, great, this is all true. And so I went out to LA for a really short bit. Yeah. And then ended up quitting the gig, and Ringo Starr's son, Zach, took the gig. And so I worked with him for about a week, like he needed it. He's great. But they wanted me to they paid me to just like kind of, I think we just went and drank most of the time. It didn't work. But he took over in the band, and that band made their record, and they were dropped immediately. Yeah. And I was in New Jersey sweating over some classifieds in the Village Voice, and I saw an open call for Buddy, the Buddy Holly story. Yeah. And so I auditioned, and I wanted to be Buddy. I thought I had glasses and everything, but I ended up doing everything else. They had me, playing guitar solos behind the curtain. They had me singing background vocals, playing drums on stuff. And every once in a while, I'd walk out and have a couple lines. I got mentioned in the New York Times, actually.
Did you really?
Yeah, they mentioned me by name in this shitty little performance. I guess because the whole thing was probably not very good. But they mentioned me for some reason, and everyone in the cast was like, "How did this guy get his name in there and nobody else?"
So, are there any particular lines that they said that you remember?
You know, I was improvising a part that was getting me in trouble at the time. I was supposed to be a guy named Jack Daw, and my job was to go out there and go, ma, 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 ma. And I just started I'd have him get distracted by things on stage that was like, because
Yeah.
I thought about it, the guy does that, like,
Yeah.
what's he thinking about? So the distraction thing was what got me the note. They thought that was funny, but that had been something that hadn't been encouraged by the director, I have to say.
So you weren't beloved by your castmates.
Not for the moment that I got mentioned. Yeah, I had a moment, and I was in it for like 3 months. So that was the extent of my acting career.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what took you to the Ben Folds 5? What suddenly launched all of this?
I was house sitting a place in New Jersey, and Nirvana had just broken, and the style, even like on the way music was treated up until then, seemed like something that I'd already been told, like I was not going to make it in that business over and over again by publishers and record companies and stuff, and I actually pretty much took their word at that moment. That's why I was doing that kind of other work, and I talked to a guy who was the head for a while of BMI, Broadcast Music Incorporated, and he had written a big hit song in like the late 60s or early 70s, and then he knew that was it for him. Yeah. He had a talk with me about it. He was like, "Look, I wrote that one song. It was great, but then I realized that the best thing that I could do is help other people." And I thought, well, that's dignified. That's what I'll do. I'll support other things, And even at the time while I was up in New York, and like Jeff Buckley and I would play Cafe Sinead. I was playing with Jeff. He was actually getting a crowd there, and I wasn't, but. He would play, I think Tuesday nights, I might have been Wednesday, so we had a kind of a thing going on there. And I was just like, I want to play drums for him. So I was bothering, a record guy about, please let me play drums for this guy, Jeff Buckley. So I had a couple years where I pretty well faced career death. And by facing career death, when I came back to it, it's like, well, I've already died once. You can't do anything to me. Yeah. You don't like it? Yeah. I didn't care anymore. Like I refused to make a demo tape. Like when our band was out there playing, and they'd say, "Do you have a demo?" "Nope. You can buy the single. It's $1." "But we're Sony Records." "Well, you have $1 then."
So at what point do you go, "I'm going to put a band together"?
Yeah. Nirvana having broke. It made me think all this music that I thought was really great that would never bubble up suddenly did.
You thought you had a shot.
It was much dirtier.
Yeah.
And I had been playing in Nashville with the idea of putting distorted bass under the piano.
Yeah.
And that came back to me. I thought, what if I was playing the same songs that everyone just thought sounded way too Broadway and sounded too polished, and it wasn't.
Yeah.
What if that just had really grungy, distorted bass underneath it? And so I'm from North Carolina, and that's a very indie music kind of place. It always has been. Yeah. So I just called back some friends and said, who plays like just rips, distorted bass? And so, well, that would be Robert Sledge. Great. Yeah. So I went and met Robert, and we didn't even really play. And we're in a band. We rented a house. We ran into this guy Darren, who's the drummer, and he seemed cool. Seriously, we got together in 3 weeks.
Wow.
And we had a gig, maybe a month or so later. We played all the songs that I'd written.
Yeah. You called it punk rock for sissies.
Yeah. Maybe not what I would call it these days, but yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was like, because it had a very punk rock attitude to it. But since it had piano in it and pretty chords, that was the idea, was that it's not as manly as the other punk rock is.
When did you get a sense that it was actually working?
I think really our first few gigs when we played together, it was pretty explosive, and it was really lucky.
Yeah.
I guess we all came from the same place, had the same sort of take on things. We're all a little bit misfits, but we did have a sound, and that was sort of, we moved the piano ourselves. Me and the two guys in the band, and then we brought a friend along who was unemployed, and we called him our tour manager. He'd been watching the Rockford Files, which I ended up putting into a song because I was like, Trey, you're unemployed, would you like to be a tour manager? He's like, yeah, sure. And he came out and helped me move the piano. But we were moving the piano to places, and the overwhelming feeling from all the gigs was, Jesus, these guys are going to be huge.
Yeah.
That was it. More than the songs are good, more than anyone sings good. It had a feeling to it.
Yeah.
And it took us longer than we would have liked. It was a year or two before we got our first record out. I guess it was about a year. And moving a piano for a year across the country is hard work. It was another 2 years once that album came out that we were still moving a piano every night into clubs. And so if there were 3 other bands on, we'd have to put it on its side and roll it over the side. The piano exactly that size.
Yeah, yeah. You end up having a surprising amount of success in England.
Yeah.
You kind of like, I mean, England almost launched you, didn't it?
Yeah. England was the first place we had a top 40 hit in England.
You ended up having 5, I think.
Yeah, we had a few. Yeah. And they just got it. Like, they got the sense of humor.
Yeah.
In America, I think it took us a while longer to find our audience in America. And then once we found it, they were, they looked like us.
Yeah. Yeah. And what did I mean? Could you feel that happening? Could you feel something happening? Was it tangible?
Well, it's all through the lens of how hard you're working and how distracted you are by these things. I mean, a couple of the times that we took the biggest steps forward, when I think Brick was in the top 5 in the U.S. And I'd never heard it on the radio once, and I was out of the country for most of the time that it was a hit. Yeah. So I didn't really feel all that. And then things will happen. You'll go, oh well, wow. We must be famous, and then all the recognition stuff, and then I knew. But at the time, it was just a relief when we had our first hit. It wasn't something to celebrate. It was like, thank fuck, I don't have to move the piano myself.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, when you've worked that long and that hard, and how old were you by this point, by the way? That's like 30 years ago now.
Yeah, I mean.
So you were in your late 20s, right?
Yeah, late 20s. I think we made our first record. I might have been 27 or 28.
Yeah. And so, I mean, it's weird because success comes in so many different ways to people. Yeah. And those who get it early tend to not appreciate it so much. But
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have wanted it earlier.
You wouldn't? No,
I don't think I would have. I barely could deal with my little bit of fame at my age.
Yeah. It's so interesting what happens in a moment like that when something takes off and it seems almost inevitable, but you're like, this is actually almost a decade in the making.
Yeah, it can be relief. I mean, I've heard other bands say that before, and other artists who, because even the Beatles didn't happen overnight. It seemed like they did, but almost anyone who's ever done it, you gotta have probably a built-in 5-year just down the hole, working as hard. It's just 5 years go by, and you've just been working like manual labor, moving your equipment to places, playing. This place likes you get a free beer at the bar. Yeah. This place kicks you out, and it's all, everyone's sleeping on the floor.
How do you approach songwriting? Is it an appointment thing for you? Is it no?
No, not at all. I mean, I've gotten that way a little more out of necessity, and I've found it to be a good thing. Yeah. Like, to make myself, I used to be more, it had to be inspiration of the moment, and I wouldn't try to but I realized that. I mean, I probably would have written a lot more stuff if I hadn't been so stupid with that stupid idea, because, you should sit down. Nick Hornby was actually the one that beat that out of me.
Did he? How did he do that?
Well, he's like, I said, it's best to do when you're inspired. And he goes, oh, is it? It's like, yeah, like you could be anywhere. You could be like at a stoplight and you come up with a song. He's like, yeah, right. Whatever happened to be maybe a professional and sit down and then it comes, like I was like, well, that doesn't really work for me. Oh, it doesn't, does it?
Yeah.
You know, like he was, and I realized he was right. You know,
Yeah.
because that's
What brought you two together?
He was actually my first gig in London, I think, at the 100 Club or something like that. I can't remember what it was called. I didn't know it, but years later, he wrote. It wasn't maybe it was like around 2002, something like that. He wrote a book called 30 Songs, and it was he thought like 30 notable songs of all time, and one of my songs he put in there.
Wow.
I hadn't met him yet, and I looked way up to him because at the time he was coming out to see my gig, I was reading High Fidelity, so I would have flipped out.
Yeah.
Because I had been waiting tables just about 6 months before that, so I was going to be super starstruck. But he wrote this, and he said, I don't know what if he's doing anything right now, this Folds guy, but this is a brilliant song, some of the best lyrics I've ever read, and he quoted them and everything. And said, here's what comes from old Southern literature, and he knew where everything came from. And I wrote him a note, tell him I really appreciated his kind words, but that's the only song I didn't write the lyrics to. My old friend Anna Goodman, who wrote those, and she was very literary, and he loved there are great lyrics. This song called "Smoke," and he loved my approach. He thought that was funny that I said thanks, but I didn't write the lyrics. And then we got together once in England and talked about making an album. So and the album was easy to make. He wrote great lyrics and sent them to me in an email, and I wrote a song that day and recorded it that night.
Yeah, it's a fabulous album.
Thank you.
It's so amazing that you came together that way, and that it worked that easily.
Yeah, well, it was the sort of the Elton John template that I'd always been sort of interested in. I mean, I've always written words and the music and everything, and I was always jealous that this guy had this great lyricist sitting around doing all the hard work. And all he has to do is like put it on his piano and play a couple of chords. What an asshole. So I just thought I'd like to try that sometime. And it is pretty easy, I have to say. But the thing is when you...
Easy for you.
Well, when you start, though, looking at songs like Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, and you imagine coming up with it that way, then you start to realize that the guy's Mozart. Yeah. And it's amazing stuff. I mean, just all the turns he took in it. But I mean, just making some music to someone's good words is pretty easy. And I would bring it in that night to the studio and show the band how I had it, and we'd record it and move to the next one.
Yeah. Do you typically start with a melody, with a lyric? Or is it different all the time?
I've always been music first. But with something like Charlie Brown's songs, it had to be more together, because it had to be it was about something specifically. I was always sort of of the school that I probably wasn't going to be someone who was going to talk about my feelings very much, and that the melodies seemed to mean something. So to me, if a melody was beginning to say something, it would be like, oh, this is expressive. Now just put that in English. Like, what's it trying to say?
Right.
And that would be, even if I didn't know what it was about yet, I would find what it was about by way of my sort of more lucid way of expressing.
Interesting. So the music tends to pull the lyric.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And what's tricky about it is that, at least to me, it's not so simple as the lyric matches. The lyric sometimes needs to be at odds with the music.
Yes.
It needs to mock the music, question the music. My standard example is how important it is if you said, like, I have news and it's going to be a lyric. It's your mother died.
Yeah.
And it would be your mother died. It would be sad, but if you went your mother died, that would be very different.
Yes.
So if depending on the feeling you want to make, then you can just play with the words after. But the words always took me forever.
They did.
The music's like that day easy, and then the words. That's why I was always jealous of the Bernie Taupin thing.
Yeah. So how do you pull the lyrics out of you?
Just keep going.
Yeah.
I keep trying. I'll write essays seriously about what it seems to be about once I started to figure it out. if it needs to be almost a short story, maybe pages and pages.
Yeah.
Start to boil it down to the things that I heard, the little bits and pieces of dummy lines. You know, maybe that means something.
Yeah.
And keep on pecking away at it until I'm happy with it.
Yeah. So you'll keep trying things out and see what feels right.
Yeah, not as much trial and error as you might think, because I'm one of those people. They tell you not to edit when you're writing, and I'm awful about that. I'm editing it in my head because I don't want to embarrass myself with a bad idea.
Yeah.
Which is the worst way to do it. The best way to do it is just to be willing to be an idiot, be
Just
willing to
spit
make
it out.
mistakes
Yep.
and spit it out. But it's like I'm afraid someone will find my notebook and see that terrible line, or all kinds of stuff. Or I don't know, someone's watching me from up, some dead songwriters looking at my shitty words. So I just keep going until I find it.
Yeah. It's that dare to suck phrase that they all give you. Yeah.
When I teach songwriting classes, I always preach that, and I don't really
Practice
drill
it.
down on the truth. but you are way better off if you can just relax.
Yeah. It's so hard though. It is. I mean,
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
Because you're holding yourself. Well, the whole music business or entertainment in general is one big built-in. It contradicts itself all over the place. Oh, you're not supposed to care, man. I don't care what anyone thinks. Yeah, well, if they like it, then you get to eat, and if they don't like it, then you got to go wait tables again. Like, oh, I care what people think, but I don't care really.
Yeah.
So it's all messed up.
Yeah.
It is. You just have to find your place.
I would think then almost that writing for like Charlie Brown in some ways would be easier for you.
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved the world. I loved that when you're writing for yourself, a lot of it is who am I today?
Yeah.
Because I was writing for Charlie Brown, so I keep calling it that. But when writing for the Peanuts, it's like Charles Schultz knew who they were.
Yep.
We knew who they were. We grew up with them, and even though the characters are being evolved some, I mean, you'll notice in this, like I think Charlie Brown's voice is just a little lower than it used to be, and his attitude is a little more open. He is growing a little bit. So there's a little mystery there, but for the most part, you feel like you know him. So I like that better.
You not only wrote the songs in this case, but you also actually recorded the kids, right?
That's right. Yeah. And to be clear, the first two songs, which are great, I didn't record those. And in fact, I hadn't written my songs. Those two were in place, and they were, they put piano in it and stuff so they knew I was going to be in on the last three, make sure everything was consistent, so it sounded like that. When it came to the kids, the first show that I worked with this team on, it's a Small Things, Charlie Brown.
Mm-hmm.
I just kind of handed them my song, and then they recorded the kids. And I'm never going to be happy unless I have full control over it. So in this case, they agreed. They were like, yeah, great, record the kids. I played all the instruments.
Yeah.
And
what did you want to hear from the kids? What did you want to hear in their
Well,
voices?
for instance, like the first one, When We Were Light. Dave's a wonderful singer. The kid's it's just a little ray of light, Well, I think he's probably like 25 now that has come out.
Yeah.
Because we were working together,
This was several years ago, right?
Yeah, and he was like he was a little kid. I saw him online. He was following me. It's like, oh, I'll follow the little fella. I'm like, whoa, he's suave. Like he's grown up. Like, he's probably a baritone now.
Yeah.
But, he sang the crap out of it.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, but Charlie Brown's, he's probably not going to sing like that. Here's his headspace, and here's who this kid is. You're a big shot now, singing in front of more people than you ever have. I need you to suck.
Yeah.
And he got that. He was really grown up about it. And because he was singing.
How do you sing like you suck? How do you sing like you suck? That's interesting.
Well, yeah,
I know what you mean.
I think for a singer, that's the way that they would feel, because you learn to do things, especially in this era, where singing can be very acrobatic and post-American Idol stuff. And he was singing stuff that I can't even imagine singing all over it, and it was about that. And it was like, no, he's like, one more sleep, and then it's like, this is where his head's at right now. And let's not make him a singer. Like, I need you to take a breath for each note, because you don't have the breath control to do all the notes in one thing, like stuff like that. And I recorded, there was some guy working on it too, recording, and I think he quit because of me. I'm not sure, but we had a conversation over Zoom where we weren't getting along, and I came back and he was not there anymore.
Yeah.
But I needed the kids to do stuff that just was going to maybe take a while. I mean, I got them singing, and then I had my laptop on tour, and I was sitting in, we were doing a short tour, and sitting in a van, with the laptop on there and my headphones, like editing together all of the Charlie Brown singing that you heard. It's like one, let's see, where's one? More. I like that more. That's good. And I pieced it together because, I felt like every word needed to kind of drip with that partial disappointment, but
Excellent. I think it's our time to open this up for questions.
Cool.
Anybody got any? I can barely see. Oh, yes. Okay, let me start over here on the right. Yes.
I just had a little bit of a fun question. If you were imagining a rock trio or rock band made up of Peanuts characters, who would you pick to be the member?
Oh,
That's a good question.
well, let's see. I'd move Schroeder to the drums. Just have some intelligent drumming going on. I think Lucy's a bass player. She strikes me as the bassist. I mean, look, I've been writing for Charlie Brown. I'm so Charlie Brown centric, but maybe that stinky guy can be the lead singer. Let's let that guy. That's pretty typical lead singer behavior.
Somebody else. Yes.
Hi, less fun question than that one, but you talked a lot about writing for characters that exist, like Charlie Brown, but a lot of your discography is like characters you make up, and I wanted to hear a bit about the process for making up a character and telling a song that's a story about them.
Yeah, that was an odd quirk in my writing that I never quite understood myself. But I think there was probably a couple things going on. One is that I really resisted choruses, which is probably not a good thing for a songwriter. So I would just realize it was about a person, and I would just get to the chorus and just say their name. And I like characters, and I like the details that are small that make up a character. And I like that in a song, it's a 3.5 minute affair that could be about something that you noticed that was in 2 seconds, that could speak of a lifetime. So you kind of got all this elasticity if you just make it about a person and their life. I've heard people say before that I wrote short stories, but I'm pretty sure they're not even stories. I think they're just little character moments. Like, in character studies, it's not that smart. They're just character moments, But it's just something that I just found myself beginning to do all the time. I would get to something that should be a chorus, and I just didn't want the bumper sticker on it. I don't know why. Maybe being from the South and a lot of country music goes so far that way. Maybe I just rubbed me wrong, and I just wanted to just be like, okay, great, Zach and Sarah, that'll work. Yeah. I mean, because there's no chorus in the song.
Yeah. Yeah. I know there's another one out there. So yes, back there.
What order did you write the songs in, and where did you go to camp?
I went to a YMCA camp for 5 days. I didn't get kicked out of this. It was actually for 5 days. That was the whole camp. It was at a place called Sourtown Mountain in North Carolina. And the thing I remember about it is we had a hike on the last day, and me and my friends were carrying the raw hamburger, and we beat everyone there, so we ate all the raw hamburger after carrying it in a backpack all day long, and we were fine. There used to be an FDA and stuff at that time. But yeah, so I wrote the songs in the order that we saw it. Starting with his disappointment, and and thinking, getting my feet wet in that moment, and I was thinking, he's kind of an old soul, Charlie Brown. So I wrote it from the perspective of an old Charlie Brown. If you listen to it, it's not present. When We Were Light is reminiscing about him when he was a kid, and he's singing it as a kid. I thought that was kind of fun. Then the next one was Look Up, and that was the disappointment of it being raining now and raining on their concert and how to get out of that. And then the last one I wrote was We Saved Camp, which got knocked down, and it was a whole song. It wasn't bad. It was kind of fun. But they
Is
wanted.
there another home for that song somewhere, do you think?
It's not that good. Had moments, and then Leave It Better. Then was the last one. Yep.
Yeah. Anybody else out there? Yes.
Yeah, hi. You've written some autobiographical songs that were very revealing. And once you were very famous, how did you deal with strangers coming up to you and asking you personal details about your life?
Yeah, I usually told them it was about some other son of a bitch. Usually, I mean, really, like I'm. There have definitely been times when because it's music first, and the lyrics would reveal themselves, and then we were very often, recording, and I was writing at the same time. Two of our albums where I would come in kind of at 10 o'clock in the studio, and they would show up at night, and I would need to have something written. Brick was like that, and Brick is an autobiographical song. It's a teenage abortion story, and we recorded it, and then I was like, oh shit, this shouldn't be on the record,
Yeah.
But by that time the label's like, we got our hit, this is going to be good. So I found myself calling a lot of people, like ahead of time to explain what was coming out.
How'd that go?
Actually pretty well.
Did it?
Yeah, not with my high school girlfriend's parents, but she really appreciated that the song
Yeah.
would be out there, and that the feeling of that was going to that it would lead to something good, because it wasn't good at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hard because, if a song is going to be good, sometimes you do have to, pilfer your own story for it. I mean, I'm mostly into the feeling that a song gets across, and if you need to totally fictionalize it, I don't care. Yeah. Thanks.
You don't want to fall in trap.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I won't walk right now, and then I'll. Thanks for that.
You don't want to end up in the hospital either.
No, we went into the hospital. It's good. I got good balance. We're good. I actually walked around for 20 years of my adult life with both shoes while I was a rock star. I thought that was funny because everyone always said, "Hey, your shoes are untied." I'm like, I don't care.
If you fell, you ended up in the hospital, I think you would care.
That's true. I would care if I went to the hospital. Thank you. I'm glad you care. I appreciate it.
I don't care, it's up to you. You're an adult.
All right.
Anybody else? Oh,
We've got a live one. Security.
one there in the back. There's one. Yes, back in the back.
One of my favorite parts of the pandemic was the Patreon group.
Thank you.
If we ever have another pandemic, will you bring the Patreon group back?
Oh, please, no. No pay. I don't want another pandemic.
I mean, there are a number of things at this moment that are sitting on the precipice that could put me back into the Patreon world, I think. I mean, it was really an interesting time. It was like I never had any time off. So all of a sudden I had time off and I was in Australia.
Yeah.
So I was running this internet wire 2 doors down to the really nice people who lived, on the same floor because couldn't get internet for a while because it's a pandemic. I was in Australia and no one would come into your house, mask or anything like that. So yeah, I ran the line down and thought, this is what I'm going to do for a living. I'll just do Patreon. And I didn't really think I was going to play gigs anymore. It's a weird mindset, but I'm so happy to have some time off too. I loved doing the Patreon thing. What was your handle?
Nothing fun. It wasn't fun.
No, what wasn't fun? 45?
No, it's Katie.
Katie. Oh, okay. Good to see you. What's that? I couldn't even hear that. I don't know. That mic was picking. I was doing this thing I called Scotch and Vinyl, where I was just playing records and sitting in a nice leather chair with a Scotch.
Yeah.
On Patreon. You know, far cry from when I was playing venues and making records, and yeah, I guess when I would lean forward or back, it would make a sound, and I was just like watching all the scrolling, going, "What is that farting noise?" I'm like, "What's?" Blame it on the chair. Why not?
People had to be obsessed with something during the pandemic.
It's true.
Yeah,
It's
they-
true.
yeah,
It was,
it
you know, we called them the mad scrollers.
Yes.
Because it was like it was flying. They were flying by. I couldn't see even what they were scrolling because it was going by. So if I had to call them mad.
You ended up spending, what, like 17 months in Australia? Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
They wouldn't let you out.
Hey, I mean, it was nice over there. Like they
Better than here.
they were tracing it. There was like 3 cases every 4 or 5 months. You could go to shows. Of course, over here in the news, they were calling it communist and stuff. And I was like, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm going to a show tonight and enjoying life. It's not a bad idea taking care of people, you know.
Yeah.
Novel idea.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
So you still tour a lot and write and perform with orchestras and do all kinds of different things. What do you get the enjoyment from? Which bits do you enjoy the most?
It's doing it all because that's just a gift. Like if I get sick of if you play 3 orchestra shows in a row and it feels a little old because I'm like saying the same thing and the order's the same. Then the next night is a solo show or writing for Peanuts, and even the Patreon thing. It's all. I'm really lucky to be able to get to do a whole lot of different things, and really none of it gets a chance to get old. You know, I'm blessed to be stressed, as the basketball players.
All right, one last one if we have one. If not, anybody else? I can't. Oh, yes, sir. Sorry.
You probably wrote 30 songs at least that were breaking up in a relationship from the beginning, just when you think it's a little going wrong, to this is it, to the repercussions of what's going on. Are you ever going to write more love songs? I think you wrote one, maybe, I don't know, on the last album. Do you consider the hotel room scene a love song, maybe too?
That's a love song. Well, the Christmas album has a love song on it. It's called "We Could Have This," and my duet partner is sitting here in the front, Lindsay Kraft. And I mean, I come from the era where 2 of my heroes pronounced love songs as complete fraud. You know, Frank Zappa won. You know, when I was a kid, and he said it's lies and bullshit, and it's lies to people, it's dross and stuff. And so I thought, yeah, well, I guess he's right. And then I remember Michael Stipe saying the same thing. It's like, well, why would you write a love song? It's just leading people into a world that doesn't actually exist. And so I knew I would write one. So the luckiest. The thing is about breakup songs is if they're good, it is about a beginning. You know, the breakup is the breakup, but what's compelling about it is what's around the corner. So I don't think you can write enough breakup songs. I mean, that said, I've written enough songs with people's names in them and enough breakup songs. So I probably have some that have both names and breakup songs. But, you know, probably time to move on. Yeah. Actually, I got Charlie Brown's name in one of these songs. So.
Ben Folds, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, y'all.